Hey ladies and gentlemen, Aussie Starcraft here, bringing you a continuation of this series of our red Zerg EG's Jaedong versus our blue Protoss player AI's Patience that's spawning in the bottom central location of Polar 9. So it's going to be game 2 in this Zerg vs Protoss series. Now for those of you who haven't caught game 1, you ought to go back and check it out. It is available here on the channel and it was a great game. Particularly good indication for our Protoss players of just what sort of timing attacks you can hit. Patience showing us a very nice timing attack designed to stretch the defense of a Zerg player's third base and showing us how to execute that time with some precision. So Protoss players in particular, go and check that one out. But naturally that does mean Jaedong is trailing in this series, which certainly isn't common, but Jaedong more than capable of making up for that, and we'll see if he's able to do that, or whether Patience pinpoint precision is going to be enough to break down the Tyrant. So we'll see what Game 2 and the rest of this series has in store for us. We saw Patience last round go for quite a quick gateway expand into a 2-base home. Actually even went up to a third base, but I think the third base was just a little bit misleading. It prompted a lot of aggression out of Jaedong, and when Jaedong made that aggression and lost their units, Patience was able to just go straight for the timing attack across the map and take Jaedong out. So a nice counterattack combined with a very quick +1, and it is almost like Patience baited the aggression out of Jaedong. Not that one really has to bait aggression out of Jaedong. He tends to be a very aggressive player in general, but yeah, Patience playing it very well in the series. Jaedong obviously one of the most successful players last year. I think he placed in, I think it was about 3 DreamHacks, 4 WCS events, and 1 Asus NorthCon at the end of last year, start of this year. So absolutely splintering 2013 from Jaedong, and from his play thus far in this tournament, I think it's going to be a pretty good 2014. Actually have an incredibly quick third base out of Jaedong, so much quicker, almost 2 minutes quicker than his third in the previous game. We'll see how Jaedong plans to play us out, but it looks like rather than the very cautious spawning pool first opening from last game, is actually going to throw down the 3 hatches very quickly, follow up with a spawning pool, and looks like he's going to go for a slightly more economic opening. So bit interesting there. We can see that Patience this game actually went for the 2 gas a little bit quicker, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slightly different tech choice out of Patience this time. The heavy gas mining's a little bit indicative of that. Patience going to be throwing down his next on the low ground, starting off that wall off, try and keep him safe against these Zerglings. Hasn't got a lot of idea what Jaedong's plans are at current, so has to be a little bit careful. Hence the reason for this first sentry, and that's going to use up a lot of the gas. The mothership core as well going to be forming part of the defense here, just patrolling back and forward between these 2 points. Mr. Overlord here is going to camp out, try and provide some vision, at least until some stalkers come to chase him away. And as that isn't very far away, he'll be making his way to a higher ground. Looks like we're actually going to see a Stargate thrown down out of Patience. Now there's a completely different tech choice for him. Probably wants to mix it up. Last round did go with an Immortal attack, so obviously wanting to try things a bit different. Stargate coming up now, and these Overlords could find themselves in dire straits quite quickly. Jaedong powering along in the economy. If we check the economy tab, already up to 30 workers and showing no signs of stopping, with another 6 in production at the moment. So Jaedong going to quickly grab an economic advantage, and curious to see just how he decides to play it out. It was a Roach Zergling combination last time with his early aggression. I'm wondering if we'll see that again, or whether we'll see some sort of tech switch. The fact that the Stargate is already in play does make the Mutalisk decision a little bit more difficult. Very hard to win it when your opponent already has Phoenix out, and as you can see, Patience not being shy about showing those off. Gonna snipe 1 Overlord to supply block Jaedong. 4 more are on the way, so that supply block will be fairly fleeting. Another Overlord though is going to go down here. We have nice map vision for Jaedong. We have a Zergling holding the watchtower on one side. Another Zergling going to be taking a look down here, just spotting if the third base has gone down for Jaedong, and we'll spot any Protoss force moving out. Now it's fairly this is fairly important. You'll often see Zerg players park a Zergling at the Protoss third base and in front of the ramp. It's for a number of reasons. One, when the Protoss player moves out, very important that the Zerg player knows as soon as possible, as they tend to spawn a lot of their units quite late in the piece, and try to spawn them obviously according to what they've spotted thus far on the Protoss. This poor Zergling, unfortunately, is going to be that sentry or watchman, probably going to die horribly as the Protoss decide to move out, but essential to help the Zerg understand just what sort of timing the Protoss are planning on executing. They have Jaedong going up to massive saturation on these bases, actually up to 16 harvesters, so almost double the harvesters of Patience. So Patience is on 2 bases. We actually have some Zealots moving out, supported by these Phoenix. So it's an interesting play from Patience. I'm interested to see how much damage it can do. We do have one Spore Crawler down. Actually have a Hydralisk Den being tucked away behind this third base, so very important that Jaedong can defend this tech structure. Obviously wants to go for some sort of Roach Hydra combination this game, and I can't blame him. Roach Hydra, a very potent combination. These Phoenix though doing a lot of damage here as these Zealots go to town on the workers. It's going to cost Jaedong a lot of workers. 14 already going down. Jaedong morphing in 26 Zerglings. Another Queen going to be on the way, so we'll see if Jaedong can hold this third base. This Hydralisk Den is potentially going to be under fire very soon. The Zealots trying to hack down the Spore Crawler. Spore Crawler unfortunately unable to hold off these Phoenix. That's actually going to allow Patience to have a free run with these Overlords. Some more Overlords going to go down for Jaedong, and they're Overlords that Jaedong can sorely afford to replace at the moment. So these Phoenix actually starting to be quite cost effective. We have Jaedong having lost 2,500 resources thus far, though getting serious about the anti-air now. The flood of Hydras, we have 5 in production, 5 more on the way. These Phoenix will start to go down. One of those picked off there. They're going to try and make their way over into the natural. One Spore Crawler is already down. A few Hydras here. Hydras actually potentially able to be picked up if Jaedong's not careful. There's only a couple of reinforcements making their way around. These Phoenix are just being a persistent irritation. Up to 6 Phoenix now from our Protoss player Patience. Actually a fair amount of kills on these Phoenix, 3 or 4 kills on each. A few Zerglings here waiting for a counterattack, but this sentry is going to make sure that's quite difficult for Jaedong. So have the Zerg missile attacks level 2 already on the way, and Protoss ground weapons also on the way. So going to be a slight upgrade advantage for Jaedong moving into the mid-game stages of this game. Got the infestation pit going down, so potential for a very quick hive after this if he so desires. And I'd love to see Jaedong go for something like the fairly quick Ultras. There is already 2 Immortals in play, so you've got to be very careful with that composition. But the right sort of positioning surround could make it quite potent, particularly with the DPS of the Hydras behind. So these Hydras going to force these Phoenix away, but these Phoenix are doing a great job of keeping Jaedong in his base. Unfortunately, what they're not helping Patience do is take a third base, which he is going to need quite soon. He will start to exhaust the minerals in his main base, and that'll put him in quite a difficult position. So in spite of the fact that Patience has been incredibly cost effective, particularly with these Phoenix just continuing to do massive worker damage, Jaedong's still sitting on 63 workers in spite of the fact that 30 have gone down thus far. So Patience, great job of the harass, but Jaedong's macro just powering straight through. We have Roach speed on the way along with Hydra speed also finishing up. The Groove Spines upgrade also already finished, so Extended Thermal Lance is almost done for Patience. So these Colossi that have been chrono boosted out certainly going to be very powerful. They are going to have that Thermal Lance upgrade, so looks like Patience is going to go for another crack at the third base, this time with the Phoenix here to try and protect the Colossi as best they can. This quantity of Hydras, quite terrifying for the Phoenix, also terrifying for the Zerg player if he can't get a better angle to try and engage. The third base potentially going to go down here and now. Looks like Patience is deciding to go for it. He did think about disengaging there, but it has decided to try and take the third. It looks like the hatchery will go down now. Patience really should think about backing up here. Zerg forces mustering quite quickly. A few Vipers now could be the end of these Colossus very quickly. 2 Colossus in play, actually going to lose the Hydra Den. The problem to throwing it, and the Roach Warren with the speed, so that's quite devastating for Jaedong, losing 2 of such important tech structures. Very little to follow this up, and this could be bad news for Jaedong. The Phoenix going to fly into those into the Hydralisk. The Colossus, 1 Colossus does come over, 2nd one yoinked over as well, and 2 Colossus will die, but Patience just going to throw down the Time Warp straight on top of the Zerg force, and I think there's enough Hydralisk here. The upgrade advantage is fairly substantial for the Zerg player. I think there's going to be just enough for Jaedong to force this back, but 2 base versus 2 base, still a very difficult position for Jaedong to be in, so we'll see if he can make this work. Still, there's going to be another warp in of Protoss units anytime now. Will there be enough to push the way through? Jaedong throwing down his tech structures once more, going to be bringing a big wave of Zerglings, 28 Zerglings actually, to try and fat out this force. Surprised to not see a hatch go down somewhere, or a macro hatch. Is going to be very low production for Jaedong momentarily. A few Zealots here going to be keeping an eye on the Protoss forces, but in this case I think they're more or less just seeing just how much trouble they are in, though. Nice round from the Zerg is going to pull down these sentries, but unfortunately the Zealots is going to provide enough DPS to push in. Things looking very dicey for Jaedong in game number 2. These Queens looking to hold back this force, but the Colossus just going to be a devastating unit here, particularly with nothing but Zerglings to try and hold this off. There is a big wave of Hydralisks coming in, but will it be enough? They're still about 10 seconds away. This Colossus yoinked in. The Zerglings just managed to clean it up. These Vipers just proving to be very vital here. Those Hydralisks needed now more than ever. Will they be able to get here in time to defend Jaedong? It's tooth and nail with Patience here as he continues to try and warp in. Nice blinding cloud going down there, forcing the Stalkers to move forward. Drones actually pulled for Jaedong as well, needing to tank the damage of these Stalkers. That may actually provide just enough DPS for Jaedong to hold this off. Patience putting up a pylon within spitting distance of Jaedong's natural expansion, and Patience actually going to start losing momentum here. His main base is completely mined out, just as the natural. Jaedong in a similar position though, his natural likewise almost mined out. Will Jaedong have to deal with any more Colossus though? That's the most important question. Patience continuing to use gateway units here, but there is a point in the game where gateway units just won't do it, and Jaedong managed to grab his armor upgrade in the midst of the attack. Patience, on the other hand, still only on 1-1 as opposed to the 2-1 of Jaedong. Can Jaedong do it? I think the Queens and Vipers here are going to be just enough. I don't know if there's a misclick, but Patience actually pulling his excess workers from the main to tank a little bit of damage here. Will they make the difference? Can Patience break through the Tyrant here at the natural expansion? There's 45 drones potentially if Jaedong wants to pull his drones. Almost no energy left for a force field. I think Patience is going to be forced to disengage here. A few last units being warped in, a few Zealots to deal with these Zerglings and drones, but the Hydra's just going to provide a lot of the DPS. If Jaedong could squeeze out just a couple more Hydras, and I think there's a little bit of a misclick for Jaedong. He sent his workers back, but they're not actually harvesting gas, and that's actually proving to be a little bit of a problem. But nice blinding cloud's going to force his Protoss army back again and again, and looks like Jaedong might be able to do it here. The Hydralisk, all the drones have been pulled. Can he hold off? Stalkers being surrounded, being taken out. There's only 6 Stalkers here in this force, and Patience has many more Roaches and Hydras here. That's going to force Patience to disengage, so I think Jaedong may have just held that out. Really got to get a couple of his workers back in his gas. A little bit distracted. We have massive oversaturation in the mineral line. Can he get his workers back? Yes, they are back in the gas, so that'll provide the gas he really needs for these Hydralisks. These Vipers continuing to be very much the linchpin of this force. Not often that we actually see blinding cloud used as frequently as it has been this game, particularly against a Protoss player, but those Vipers, Jaedong making the use of every tool in his shed, and once they'd pulled the Colossus, certainly wanted to keep using them, and he did so quite effectively, so managed to hold, but albeit barely. It's 18,000 resources. This game couldn't be closer. We have 2 players who have almost entirely mined out both their bases and going for their 3rd base yet again. So it's a tooth and nail here in this game. The question is, who is going to take the edge? Army-wise, it is 1 Colossus and 5 Stalkers to 16 Roaches and 11 Hydralisks. So composition-wise, I'd have to give the advantage to Jaedong. This is the entirety of Patience military force here, as opposed to this rather terrifying host of Zerg units making out its way across the field. It's the fact that there's these 200 energy Vipers flying around for Jaedong that I think is going to make a massive difference in this engagement. A good blinding cloud force the Protoss player to have to micro out of position, and that's while very situational, can actually make all the difference in the engagement. Every volley from those Colossus, very important. If they get abducted, could be very bad news for Patience. So we'll see if Patience can hold this. Jaedong putting the pressure on this third base. If this Nexus goes down, the righty will be on the wall for Patience. Likewise, if this Zerg force is taken out here, it'll be imminent defeat for our Zerg player. And one Colossus does go down. The second one trying to micro it backwards. The Viper really got to abduct some more, but unfortunately no energy. But the Roaches are just going to be able to barrel their way straight through those force fields. Two in this last poor Colossus, unfortunately surrounded on every side. It's going to go down as well, and Jaedong is going to take it in what is a surprisingly close game number 2. Absolutely back and forward between those players. Love it. You saw Jaedong clinging to dear life for 4 or 5 minutes there on the defense, just Patience throwing everything he had it, but unable to crack Jaedong's defense in game number 2. And just what a phenomenal series we have on our hands. 1 game each going into game number 3. So either of these players still needs another 2 wins to take out this series. Hope you guys have enjoyed the games. I'm certainly enjoying the casting. If there's any other games from this tournament or other games in general that you'd love cast, please send them through to aussiestarcraftreplays@gmail.com. The address is in the description for all the videos, so just go through and send it through to us. We'd love to cast those. And if you haven't subscribed, this is your first time on the channel, welcome. We hope you're enjoying it here. By all means, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to see you on the channel. We've almost hit the 100 subscriber mark on our humble little channel, so really looking forward to that. If you've got any friends that love StarCraft, go ahead and let them know we're casting some games here. The rest of this series will be going up very shortly. Thanks guys, looking forward to catching you in the next cast.